Guys, there are just 9 days left until NFL season. I just did a draft with my pal Pete Overzet, and Lord knows I've got the itch to do another one. So I am already in a Best Ball Mania 4 draft room, hustled over here. So we still have 3 spots left to go in this one. You can see it on the screen now. Of course, I am hitting drafts every single day here on the Splash Play channel. Tomorrow, we'll be going over to the World of Drafters. Thursday, the World of DraftKings. Then Friday, the final Spag stacks will be coming up. So either way, going to be a lot going on here. I get the 3-hole in this one. Excited to get that one. If we're excited to have all you guys with me, I see the chat filling up. We got Mathology is horny. People shouting out the Squirt Squad. People want to know how Tyler's doing. Shout out to everybody moving over from the Peach stream, of course. I'm going to have it's going to be sad for me to not have that on Tuesdays. I don't know about you guys. I know it's always a weird thing. Like people talk about parasocial relationships of like viewers of podcasts or whatever, and how it feels like the host of your friends. For me, it's like, that's my friend hangout with Pete. Is just hanging out with him, doing those drafts, us bullshitting back and forth, him shitting on my takes, me watching in wonder as he does what he does. But definitely going to be something that I miss on my Tuesdays, and a little bit of nostalgia kicking in here, but we still got some fun left to go on the channel. Goal is to keep drafting through next week. Of course, season starts on Thursday, and I think next week probably will hit more drafters, more DraftKings, because of the fact that those won't fill, whereas Best Ball Mania very likely going to fill. Shout out to the chat. Yes, of course, I am holding a football. This is how you know, guys. You can see, yeah, sure, there's winners of Best Ball Mania tournaments out there. Sure, I'm a Best Ball Mania finalist, 2-time DraftKings finalist last year. But what matters the most is that I'm holding a football to indicate that I do, in fact, know ball. I'm so glad this has become a bit that I could steal from Scott Hansen, an actual luminary in the football space who holds a football now in social media posts. He's on Twitter, posted videos in his car. Somehow he's got a football in there. It really gave me the impetus to be this guy, to be the football guy, the guy who knows ball and is willing to hold a slightly deflated degree branded football that I got a few years ago as a PR thing. See what Ray's Hasu does in the 2-hole. I do not recognize a single name in this room, guys, so this is going to be an interesting one. Get Jamar Chase. I have no Jamar Chase. This bodes pretty well for me. My Jamar Chase exposure in BBM right now is at 3.6%. You know why? I don't get 102s. I have gotten an alarming lack of 102s. I've gotten a good amount of 101s, and I frankly don't ever want to take Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson. So 13% Justin Jefferson, 3.6% Jamar, and we'll get to a flat 4% on Jamar now. Feels good. Feels good. Spags knows balls. Yes, I do. I've got these 2 big ones right here. I got a big old stack of balls. Oh God, I don't even know, guys. I'm also not sure. Might do 2 drafts today. Might just do 1. We'll see how the vibes are. So if you guys want to smash the like button here, that'll tell me you probably want me to do another draft, or just feel free to drop in the chat. But I'm open to whatever, because I got to get these entries in. I got to get my DraftKings entries in. Got about 10 left in BBM now. Once we finish this one, I got about 25 left on DraftKings, and got as many as I want on drafters. So that's the positive for me as well. Me and Spags, that same Jamar Chase luck at 3.6%. Yeah, I guess I could have bounced it out. Like I could have reached for him at the 1 spot, but I just think that Jefferson is worlds ahead as a talent. We'll see if we get unlucky. Maybe the target share drops for Jefferson a little bit with TJ Hawkinson getting another year there. Though Hawkinson kind of feels like he's quietly doing the contract dance, where he was out for a while with the ear infection. Now he supposedly has a back issue that's limiting him in practice as he's negotiating the richest tight end contract ever for himself. So interesting times for Hawkinson. Not saying, worry about him, not saying knock him down by any stretch, but it does feel like maybe Hawkinson running into one of those years that sometimes players do. We'll see. We'll see. 10% Chase. There we go. And smash the like button. We want 2 drafts. Shout out our guy, Willis. Willis, of course, the first ever and the only ever account we'll have for Splash Play. So shout out our guy, Willis, and listen to him. He's an influencer. He knows what he's talking about. Drafts so far, some interesting stuff at the end here. We see Garrett Wilson going in the 1st, which I feel like has not happened since July or so. But that guy gets Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. That feels pretty good. Colton Slavey here in the 8-hole gets Bijan and Tony Pollard. I know there's a pocket of people out there that'll love that one. We get Travis Kelce going in a normal spot. This guy gets Olave. Not sure how to read this room yet. Feels like everything's kind of normal, but a little bit skewed. And our guy, the icon, Jeremy, in the 9-hole, of course, who can't do a Splash Play draft without Jeremy. He is the most steadfast. It's like me in a room, number 1, and then it's Jeremy in a room. Those are the ranks here of people who are always in a Splash Play draft room. All right, let's see. Chunk, I almost had to draft Deuce Vaughn last draft and thought of you briefly. Thought of you and Mr. Shadow Dog, 2 of the staunchest Deuce Vaughn fans. So because I don't have Chase, I certainly don't get the double very often. So I am going to go T. Higgins here. And then we'll see if we can push Joe Burrow to a reasonable pocket. I imagine getting Burrow for me would look at 46 or 51, depending on how diamond hands I'm feeling. If I'm going to get sniped on Joe Burrow. Of course, Joe Burrow, the most sniped QB in terms of unstacked plays. So something for me to watch here. But if I'm going to get Chase, I'm going to get Chase and Higgins. Like, I'm just going to make the bet on Cincinnati. That's how I feel about it. Wow, I'm not buying the Bijan hype. Full fade for me. So with Bijan, the thing is that worst case scenario is going to be Tyler Algier last year. Tyler Algier ran for 1,000 yards, could have done more in the pass game if they gave him that work, but they kind of didn't view him that way, which is fine. Bijan, they are going to view as that way from day one. So I think it would be a mistake to be out on Bijan, as I've talked about when I drafted him yesterday. I think Bijan and Nick Chubb are the two running backs that I feel a pretty good click on. The one hole takes Mahomes and Allen. Apparently thinks this is weekly winners or something. All right, so we're getting weird. I don't want to take Jalen Hurts unstacked. I don't think that makes sense for me. I don't really want to buy the rising Josh Jacobs. No Dolphins going to be available to stack up with Andrews. That'll make me feel good. I'm still going to take Andrews here. I think Andrews still an undervalued tight end play overall. Obviously, he's the number 2 tight end in ADP, so that's probably a stupid thing to say. But in terms of his potential to be the tight end 1 and be a guy that even if Kelsey is healthy, I think he's probably the only guy who can beat Travis Kelsey head-to-head if these guys are going to be full health, able to go. And the logic for Andrews is just going to be, this is going to be an aggressive tight end offense. If it's anything similar to what Todd Monken did last year in Georgia, where he had a tremendous year for Brock Bowers, but also fed Darnell Washington pretty well. So I think for Andrews, like, there is legendary upside potential for him at tight end this year. And certainly a guy that I know Pat's talked about, the play action rate that he's involved in, going to bode well for him as well. But I think that's where Mark Andrews, getting him in the 3rd round here, maybe unique. Probably not unique with Chase and Higgins, but maybe a little bit unique. I think looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Yeah, leverage against Kelsey. I think that's how I'm viewing it. I know for me, a lot of my Kelsey teams often have Higgins with them. So I think getting Chase along with Higgins and then Andrews as a lever against Kelsey makes sense. But yeah, I think it checks out for game theory. But I also do think he's just a very solid play. So Colton Slavey, let's see if he sticks this one, because normally these guys drafting 3 running backs here, first of all, they of course get this lovingly crafted gif of a running back pig. Oink, oink, oink. Colton Slavey loves running backs way too much, but also does feel like usually these guys don't stop drafting running backs. If he does stop drafting running backs, this is a pretty sick team to start with. If he does keep drafting running backs, he has made a grievous mistake. So let's see what Colton does in the 8th spot. Because now I'm legitimately curious, because I think he's gotten a lot of people's dream start here. Nice correlation with Tony Pollard and Gibbs as well. This all looks pretty good for him if he just doesn't draft running backs for like at least 10 rounds or so. Let's see. How many DK millies do I have left? About 25. About 25. I think I did 2 last night. Again, drafting late night on DraftKings, I will advocate for it time and time again. Didn't quite get the murderers row lineups that I got on Saturday night and Friday night. But definitely, if you can do it, if you can stay up till 10 o'clock, draft some teams on DraftKings then, because you're just going to find incredibly soft rooms. Our guy Colton here takes Christian Watson, so I can't argue with that start for him. Looking pretty good for Colton, and we'll see if anybody snipes us on Burrow. I hope not. I hope not. I would like to push Burrow to the next round if I can, but with that guy taking 2 elite QBs, he probably won't take a 3rd, you would think. We'll see. What do we do? I like the start, so I don't want to blow the start, but I don't love this pocket that we're coming up on right now. All right, Ayuk goes. Was definitely thinking about him. Burrow is the most valuable to me, and I feel like I can get all these guys on the way back anyway. Like, what does Hopkins do for me? Nothing. I'm just going to take Burrow here. Would like to push it, but if you want to push it, there's got to be a reason to do it. And I don't think pushing it for Aaron Jones, pushing it for Kenneth Walker, pushing it for Deontay, like none of that does a lot for me. So we'll get Burrow here, complete the double stack. There we go. Same page. Benjamin. All the Bens in chat know. So many Bens in chat, as I pointed out yesterday. And I like all the Bens. But a Benjamin, now that's class. That's class. All right. We're all on the same page here. I took him. All right. What do we do on this pick? We got Deontay there. Do I just take another Deontay share at this point? Tyler Lockett, but I'm not going to get much back there. Let's go, Deontay. Still would like to build an extreme zero RB team here. As I've talked about, I think that is my advantage this year, is that nobody wants to build zero RB teams. Nobody really, they want to build hero RB teams. They want to build bimodal RB teams. They want to take their deviations and then take 5 receivers and cut it off. I do think for me, being willing to go heavy at receiver and still believing that in the ethos. And I summed it up really well in the middle of the 8-hour DraftKings stream, but I'll try to distill what I was saying there down. Where basically last year was the first year no running back got 25 touches in a game as an average. Nobody got even 24 touches. Derrick Henry led the league at 23.9. So what if this year there's nobody that gets over 20, or even if there is, like, let's say there's only 5 guys that get over 20. As a result, all of these running backs are a little bit overvalued. And also in a room where wide receivers are now going drafted higher than ever. These guys' ADPs basically are so high that it's going to be like the 5th high wide receiver heavy, most wide receiver heavy room that was in a BBM last year. So that's just something where I want to get zero RB builds still in here. I think running backs have been a little bit overvalued over the course of the last 25 years, but you can kind of back it out because guys get 30 touches. If nobody's getting that many touches this year, or even approaching it, week to week in terms of the averages, I think that's where wide receivers have perhaps been a bit misunderstood. And you also just are going to get less good receivers if you don't draft a bunch early on. So that is my my overall thesis, but I said a lot better. The 8-hour stream. That's how it goes. I have Zero Kelsey. He's fucking alpha saying Spags is my favorite piss boy. Look, I'm committed to the brand. Some people out there, they could sell their hats, they could sell their merch. But for me, I am certainly committed to it because I think it's a way of life. I think it's the correct pathway. If we're going to do a full religious kind of thing here, I believe that zero RB is a pathway to enlightenment. But honestly, though, I just think that the way the markets have moved, I think people have misread it. They've read it as, oh, here's our opportunity to take more early running backs, instead of, oh, if I don't take 5 receivers through the first 7 rounds, I'm just going to have a much worse receiver room than everybody else. So that's my hope, is that I'll have the best receiver rooms in every draft I'm in. And I will tell you guys, I had a dream last night that I had a 50% advance rate in BBM. So lock it down, guys. That's definitely going to happen. It won't just be the average 16%-ish number that people get. It'll be me having 50% advance rate and going and dunking on everyone. No chance. No chance. Who's the perfect first running back with zero RB? Mine is Dobbins. I agree, Mike. I think Dobbins has been a great pick. There was a point where he was going in the 80s because people were worried he was going to hold out or was more hurt than he let on. Now he's still going in the late 60s. I would be happy to scoop Dobbins there. I don't get Aaron Jones being a top 50 pick and Dobbins being where he is. I frankly would take Dobbins over Aaron Jones straight up. So I actually agree that would be the guy I would start my run with. And besides that, Madison, I don't mind. Damian Pierce is getting a little bit frothy, but I still don't mind him as the start and the bet that he can be right. Brees, if you get him as a faller, I think also makes sense as a first running back off the board. But yeah, definitely some options there in that range. Not Walker for me this year. That's the one bet that I'm really not going to back down off of. I think it's a Charbonnet team, and Kenneth Walker's got a lot of fans from what he did last year. And unfortunately, last year's points don't count this year. Please don't say lock. Now, of course, nobody's a lock besides Drew Lock, Drew Lock, I think could still win this job this year. I think if Geno falters, Geno gets hurt, Drew Lock then wins the job and they extend him and let go of Geno, but probably not going to happen. All right, so we are on the clock here. I do think this is a build that makes sense to grab JSN. We have Deontay Johnson here. JSN ahead of ADP doesn't feel great, but obviously the report's looking pretty good for him. Going to start the year on the active roster, as you saw in that news alert from Underdog. And certainly something to me where I've been buying the dip on JSN. I've been buying the dip on Terry McLaurin. I've been buying the dip on Jerry Jeudy. I still think the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself is just being willing to absorb these injured guys. And especially if you are building an early wide receiver team, you can absorb those first few weeks of if they are going to be hurt, if they are going to be less effective. So that's something that works for me. Nothing I'm seeing here, would be kind of fun would be to perhaps try to do a little bit of Michael Pittman and maybe get Anthony Richardson with this team. I don't know. We'll play with it. So the team so far, we got Joe Burrow a little bit ahead of ADP, but we locked him down. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, JSN, little week 17 correlation early on, Michael Pittman, and then a tight end, Mark Andrews. So this is a start, guys. This is a start that I feel pretty good with. We'll see. The Drew Lock clip of him with Jeezy playing at the game. Look, Drew Lock's got moves, man. Drew Lock's got moves. Drew Lock is also married and a dad now. So definitely Drew Lock, his life is moving on a trajectory just like mine. Me and backup QBs who never get their shot at the limelight. Stars just like us. Stars just like us. So at this point, would you go running back even though you only have 4 receivers? No. I'm not. I'm always willing to push running back to a point of discomfort. It is harder now. Obviously, this kind of draft, I think, made more sense when there was a time period where you can get Charbonnet, you can get not Kenneth Walker, you can get Charbonnet, you can get Elijah Mitchell, you can get Jalen Warren, you can get Kendre Miller, you can get all these guys lined up, A-Chain. You get them all lined up in a row relative to round to round. Now you can't do that. So I'm probably pushing my luck a little bit here at running back. But I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. You're going to draft A-Rich. It would be nice. It would be nice. The jersey's right here, guys. The jersey is always waiting for me. Smells good. So I don't know if it actually smells good, to be honest. It might be a stretch given how hot it's been in the studio this summer. But it's there. It smells like AR. That's the hope. All right, Trevor Lawrence goes to 79. Again, this is why, to me, if you do draft Christian Kirk, if you do draft Calvin Ridley early on, you're just going to see Trevor Lawrence fall. And for some reason, guys who love Trevor Lawrence always want to take him in the 5th round, always want to take him ahead of ADP. And if you just are patient with Trevor Lawrence and you have some sort of skin in the game and you have one of the receivers that go ahead of him, I think Trevor Lawrence falls pretty nicely often. So good job by Paystacks not giving in there, even though I don't believe they don't actually have a Jag. So never mind. Bad job by Paystacks. But he did prove the point. I've been sniped 2 times by fucking casuals and red badges. Sorry. Wait, Tyler, which one is Tyler in this room or in something else? Because I thought you were emo cowboy. I'm confused by Tyler's chat, is what I'm saying here. We need a Pickens jersey. I would honestly, relative to the bags, I probably deserve a Christian Watson jersey and a Pickens jersey more than an AR jersey right now. But I would like to get AR one more share. Don't think I'll take him at 94 here, but we'll see. Let's see what we can do. Pacheco falling again in this room. Pacheco would be nice for this build, actually, but I don't think he's going to come back to us. We'll see. Could just take a 6th receiver. Just punt running back to the 10th round. I like that Spags planning on a 6 wide receiver, 2 QB, 1 tight end, and then might start blasting off on running backs. Bid equity truly transcendent. It's more that I would then be willing to take 7 running backs, maybe even 8. I'm willing to follow it up with volume, as you guys saw in the last draft I did with Pete. But I think that's the build that I like. But yes, we're pushing the running back pocket a little bit heavy. We are. I'll admit that. But let's see. It all depends on what we get back here. Like, I don't feel the need to take Dalvin Cook, because we've debated recently on the channel pretty aggressively. I know a certain guy with a J in his name would love me. Hey, Dalvin Cook, he's going after 1 pick after ADP. You got to scoop him up. That's just Jerry ball. Jerry knows ball. All right, we got Khalil Herbert goes. So that does make this a little bit less appealing. You know what, guys? At this point, let's just lock up our players. Let's just get our guys. Anthony Richardson and Joe Burrow. What a duo. Oh, man. The bid equity, whatever you want to say, guys. This is just good football. This is just knowing ball. This is knowing draft ball. The jersey's on. Jersey's on. This guy knows degree football. Kadarius Toney would have been a nice pick for me, too. But I don't care. All right. Well, now Dalvin Cook's a pretty nice value, right? I think let's go Brian Robinson here, right? No, because we have the bet on Pittsburgh, Seattle. Let's just get Charbonnet. Fuck it. I will die on this Charbonnet hill. I don't care. I don't care if he ran 3 times for 1 yard in a game in the preseason last weekend. He ran really well the previous 2 weeks. And Charbonnet, just the perfect back guy who can catch passes, guy who runs with violence, guy who's a positive expected points added rusher, as well as a guy getting targets downfield. That is why I love Zach Charbonnet. I just think he is a better football player than Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker still can have that home run potential. I think he can have that home run potential for 10 carries a game. Give Charbonnet 15 to 18, and we looking pretty good as a Seattle offense. But there we go. Team is cooking. Cook is a nice value for someone else. No, Cook, honestly, Cook makes sense, but I just, at this point, I've been so out of the Dalvin train. And if you're drafting in BBM, you're drafting against teams that took him in the 100s, mid 100s, probably at some point. I just don't love Dalvin at this point. And I think Breece Hall is still the bet. Breece Hall coming off the knee stuff. He's young enough to recover fully. A better back. I know Dalvin Cook certainly has Aaron Rodgers' ear or the apple of his eye, whatever you want to call it. But definitely to me, I would rather have Breece Hall, and Dalvin, I think, can be a volume guy who maybe gets there, but not going to do more And as I talk about here, the guys that I like to draft are the guys with a high EPA per target, high EPA per rush, if it's possible to find those guys, because basically that means that every time they touch the ball, every time they tote that rock, they're getting more than the average guy would. And that's how you break big plays. That's how you add upside over and over again, rather than just relying on volume. So that's why I like those guys. And Zach Charbonnet is definitely one of those guys. Gave up 2 starters to take a backup, Spags. I don't see, like, with running backs, I think you need to change your language around that stuff. Like, it's not starters and backups. It's just everybody is a part of a committee. So are you the VP of the committee, or are you the president of the committee? Like a guy like, let's say Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is the president of his running back committee. Whereas I think Kenneth Walker is like a VP of his committee, and Zach Charbonnet is the speaker of the running back committee. So it's not like a backup. I think that's, if you're viewing things as that binary with running back positions, you're missing the whole meta game that is going to ruin your portfolio, is how I would view it. It's not. I just proved it why, Johnny. It's incorrect. There we go. 140 people watching. Smash that like so we get another draft. Yes, please smash that like button here. Help Splash play out. Of course, trying to grow things here. And of course, subscribe down below. If you're watching after the fact, feel free to leave a comment. I always reply. Always happy to take whatever questions you guys want to throw my way, and happy to critique you and your language as I please. Sounds like Spags read Pat's article on legendary running backs. I agree. I think that's certainly a thing that with Pat's article that he laid out the cases for everything and against everything. I think I would err on reading the bad scenario of those and going like, oh, wow, all of these guys do have, as I've talked about the Simpsons softball team analogy, ways for them to go south, ways for them to end up running bad, ways for them to not have the value that they're being drafted at. That's the main thing to me, is that if running backs are not the same ecosystem that they've been in the last 15, 20 years, and people are still looking at data, like there's enough smart guys out there who are pointing to the last 10 years of data and going, oh, running back spike weeks for the last 10 years. And it's like, there are 2 things now going against. Now, just not the teams recognizing that giving a running back so many touches is inefficient. It's also the running backs recognizing that this is killing their careers. So you have 2 really big levers going against running backs getting this unlimited buffet of touches. And that's why guys like Johnny Football just don't know ball. They could put ball in their name, but do they know ball? Is Johnny Football's holding a football right now? I don't think he is. That's fair. Look, that's fair. Not as the first running back, but it's not about one running back. It's about a room of running backs. It's about getting 6, 7 guys who are all going to have 10-point weeks to 20-point weeks. Last year, the Jamal Williams will be the best example of it. But there were certainly plenty of them. Ramondre was my bet. Tony Pollard was my bet. Like, the issue is now those guys go so highly, and you're better off finding the next Tony Pollard or the next Ramondre. That's always going to be my bet. And look, we get one of them here in Jaylen Warren. It's almost like this works. It's almost like the process is processing right in front of our eyes. Johnny Football is going to run the wing T. Just go ahead, man. It's okay. It's okay. You could view it differently. Don't take offense. It's always funny when people get butthurt because my take doesn't align with yours. Like, I'm talking here doing a show. It's okay. But oh, another backup. Jaylen Warren's a backup. Oh, they're not going to get there now. Jerry Football sounds like. Tank Bigsby here. I think another very solid part of a 0 RB portfolio. So let's play the hits. We've got at QB, Joe Burrow, Anthony Richardson. We got Zach Charbonnet, Jaylen Warren, Tank Bigsby. A receiver, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, JSN, and Michael Pittman. So not a full extreme 0 RB, but close enough. And then a tight end, we got Mark Andrews. So start our running back run late. We are going to continue to hammer running back for the next few rounds. Might sneak in a tight end at some point, but not worried about it. Broncos waived Ben DiNucci. That's not welcome to the family anymore. Hell of a run in the XFL, though. Hopefully he goes back there. Some guys just need to accept that they might not be NFL QBs. And I think Ben DiNucci would benefit from he's better being the big fish in the small pond than being a minnow in the large pond of the NFL. Wan'Dale Robinson off the pup. That's pretty big, actually. Wan'Dale is going to go right into that log jam at the slot, and that'll be pretty tough. All right, guys, Sammy here is ready for the interview when he wins the $3 million. Let's go, Buffalo. I am curious to see how that would happen because we've had the last few years, obviously, Justin Herzig won BBM 1. Wasn't a lot of fanfare for that one. BBM 2 goes to Liam. Liam certainly makes the most out of his media opportunities. And then Pat's a guy that's already working in media, so he does NBC, he does ETR, does places that he worked at along with all the other ones. But if it's just somebody like who wins randomly, like somebody in our chat, I'm curious to see your guys' media schedule. I'm curious to see what happens for all of you. It's definitely going to be it could happen. It could happen. I mean, we saw people last year. I think the number 2 finisher, right, was only 1 bullet. So definitely could happen. Where do the pass catching backs lane for you? CMC Eckler types. Eckler, I worry about more so, as we've talked about. Their offensive coordinator last year is now part of the Broncos. So if anything, you could see more pass game work, more of that check down stuff from Joe Lombardi going to Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams. So Eckler, I wouldn't put exactly in that build. I do think he gets used not quite the same way that he was last year. But CMC is a pass catching back. Like, it's hard to argue. On Underdog, though, like, you know, I think you can argue with anybody, especially in the Best Ball Mania format, where CMC, like, yeah, he's a great player. We know it's the upside. I think his upside's a lot harder to ignore on DraftKings on a full point PPR site where you know he can get you 10 targets in a game. Whereas like on Underdog, like his 10 targets not getting in the end zone enough if he does seed touches to an Elijah Mitchell in a blowout kind of thing. Like CMC's ceiling just isn't quite as off-putting as it could be on other sites. So I think CMC is perfectly fine here. I like pass catching backs. Obviously, if you can get it back who catch passes, great. But for me, you know, and Jalen Warren's one of those guys too, who fits that criteria later on, but with less of a volume overall. But I think in my spot, like I'm willing to fade anybody. I'm willing to fade anybody at running back in particular. And especially guys where there are some questions about how they're going to get used. Like, I don't think there's a question about how Bijan's going to be used. Maybe he cedes 10 touches a game to Tyler Algier, but he's still probably getting himself 15. For a guy like Chubb, like we know Chubb is going to get 10 to 20 touches a game, and he might get a few more passes tacked onto that this year. Like those guys, I don't really have questions about the volume or the efficiency, whereas CMC, I have some volume questions. Like, if you're the Niners, are you playing to win in the regular season, or are you playing to win it all in the end? And I think they're playing to win it all in the end. And if that's the case, you don't give CMC 25 touches, and you know, it just kind of goes down in value from there. Let's see. Going to ship the million, bombard everybody with me 24/7. That does ring true for what Tyler would do. Again, I've said it before. When I win BBM4, I'm going to just wear a robe and a crown on at least the early parts of these streams and dub myself the king of best ball. And you all will be demanded. I'll go worship your king of best ball. And it'll be great. And I'd probably make the studio really sick. Those would be my 2 things. All right, we got a 2-3-5-1. Could use another tight end, but I don't think Dalton Schultz will be him. Dalton Schultz falling because of the route participation, where I believe it's Dalton Keene who ran the same amount of routes as him in that last preseason game. But we do have a little bit of a bet. Let's see. Okay. A-Chain's already gone, so we're not going to get him as a faller. Mostert makes sense because of the bet on Andrews. So let's get Mostert here. Normally would say I prefer Tyler Algier to Mostert just because of the fact that there is something where getting texts on my Apple Watch as we go. There is something to, I think, just Mostert having to compete for touches with A-Chain. Obviously, we still have the looming threat of Jonathan Taylor. We still have Jeff Wilson hanging around. That's not great. So I'd prefer in a vacuum Tyler Algier over Mostert, but because we have the little bit of a bet on Baltimore, I think Mostert makes more sense for this particular build. All right. I see one running back here I'd be happy to take, and one that I will only take in the midst of an 8-hour DraftKings stream. You can decide which is which. Come on, Reyes Hasu. I keep seeing his name and thinking Raichu, and I would like him a lot more if his username were Raichu. All right. So let's just get Roshan here to round out the running back room. So we've got at least 5 guys that I do like in a 0 RB build. Team so far: Joe Burrow, Anthony Richardson at QB. At running back, Zach Charbonnet, Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, Raheem Mostert, Roshan Johnson. At wide receiver, Jamar Chase, C. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, JSN, and Michael Pittman. And then Mark Andrews at tight end. So we have a 2-5-5-1. Probably can lay off running back a little bit more now, but would be happy to take one if it aligns perfectly. Did I spend a couple grand on my stream setup, would you say? Yes. The computer here was something that Stochastic had bought for me way back when. Same thing for the ring light. I did buy this monitor. I bought this big TV behind me. And then this shelf was built in. So, but yeah, probably, I guess maybe a couple grand overall would be the cost to do this stuff, to make it look like this. And then having an extra room, I think, is another big part of it. But I always hate when people have like the green screen behind them and you can see they're in a fake house. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. Like Warren Sharp used to do that all the time. And it's like, are you trying to make your house look better than it is? Like, this is my house. Look, I'm hitting a football against things over here. That's real. This dollar sign isn't CGI, baby. This is all real. Broncos waive Albert O. Wow. Big game by him in his last game, but starstruck career for Albert O. So shout out to all the people who drafted Albert O so heavily last year just to watch that ship die. And I don't think Greg Dulcich is the same this year. I think Greg Dulcich's opportunity has increased with Jerry Jeudy potentially being hurt to start the year. But still, like some whiffs of Albert O from Greg Dulcich's career and the changes so far. When dude is sarcastic to play his high stakes MLB DFS, gives 0 Fs about his setup. It's hilarious. That is one of the things. Sometimes guys that have made the most money have like the ugliest setups, but I'm a content creator. I need to make it look pretty and hopefully it look professional enough that like I've done shows on CBS. I've done shows on like Cheddar. Like I've done actual things with this as a backdrop. So I like having a nice backdrop if you can. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I've tried to always make it look good, but back in the Osmo days, it was just like me on a couch in my guest rooms. Definitely try to make it feel like your personality, right? That's the hope. Shout out to everybody who's watching right now. Again, smash that like button. I think I'm heading towards doing a second draft here so we can have me at 140 by the time this stream ends. So please do that. And of course, please make sure to subscribe down below. Hit the like button. If you're watching after the fact, leave a comment. Of course, hop into the live chat. Don't be shy. Our chat, I think, is honestly the most fun chat in this entire biz. So please hop in there. And of course, Splash Play is not just a best ball channel. Once the season starts, we're going to roll into NFL DFS content. No show with Pete next week. We're going to figure out what our in-season schedule looks like. But I'll be here grinding next week. We'll be doing the opening day showdown stuff. We'll be doing drafts all next week, and then we'll do some sort of preview for week 1. So doesn't stop here, boys and gals. We got a few gals out there. Do I miss Osmo / Stochastic? I love all those guys. I'm happy to be going back this year to be doing the deeper dive on Sundays. That'll be fun to do with still giving myself an hour before lock. But I don't know. Life puts you on different trajectories. I think if they were willing to pay me what Football Outsiders paid me, then I probably would still be there, but they weren't. So it is what it is. You got to go where the money is. And then when the money disappears, then you go and do something else. Let's see. Is Curry moving to San Diego? Did I see that correctly or hear that correctly? Very cool by him. That's the move you make when you got enough money. Move west, man. Just enjoy the time zone for games. Tougher for football, but just being able to watch games at 4:00 like that is where things look really good. So shout out to Kareem on his West Coast move. Jordan Klein's here. Of course, I miss Jordan. You're on vacation though, aren't you? Are you checking in from vacation? I've seen Jordan posting the finest meals at a sick resort. So. But of course, I miss the people there. It's just like the shows, like, man, during football season and the overlap between football and basketball at Stochastic, like I was doing 7 days a week of content, which, is fine. I couldn't do it now with the baby, I don't think. Or I guess maybe I could if we timed it right. But 7 days a week of anything, especially 2 sports, like the brain function that's required of that is a lot. Like it really made it very difficult to do. Or baseball and NFL have an overlap too. So that was the one thing where like I definitely don't miss doing 7 days a week of stuff. Football Outsiders did not. They paid me half of what I'm owed, and they caught up our data guy. But it looks like it's not looking good for the season to start. But we'll see. I think the site's actually down right now because of some issues. I'm trying to navigate it so everybody gets paid. That's my hope. But I'm personally not planning on contributing content right now unless something changes materially in the next 9 days. But that's the update. It sucks. It's been, but like honestly. I was trying to kind of push forward with Football Outsiders in the hopes of like carrying on the legacy there. And I just, frankly, the staff that's left has left me with such a bad taste in my mouth with how they've handled everything that I just don't feel that pang of wanting to help them and do their legacy anymore. Just to be real, like they've been complete shitheads about everything, which I get, but being shitheads to me is different when I've been the one who kept that site afloat for the last 2 years, basically. It is what it is. Such is life. That's why we build Splash Play. All right, 2551. Could definitely use some depth at all the positions. I still think my big concern is going to be, it's going to be at running back. But this, you know what? Irv is too valuable to me. I do think the Irv part of a Cincinnati stack is a forgotten part that's really important. I think Irv is going to be out there for every snap, and it doesn't really matter to me what he's done in the past. Like he's a guy with a pedigree who's still young, who came in as this perceived pass-catching threat. So in a Burrow build where we have the double, I do want to increase my bet with Irv Smith, even though I feel like I'm the only guy in the fantasy industry who actually thinks Irv Smith is worth drafting. All right. Do need another running back, but boy, running back dried out pretty bad, as might be expected here. We also, Alec Pierce went at some point, so he is not an option to stack with AR. I'm not going to reach, boy, this is not my favorite pocket in the world. I guess I honestly have avoided Zamir White this entire offseason, but I'm going to take him here because we do have the correlation here with Indianapolis. So team so far, Burrow and AR at QB, Charbonnet, Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, Raheem Mostert, Roshan Johnson, Zamir White. If Johnny Footballs wants to give me shit for Zamir White, you can. He is a pure backup. Jamar Chase at receiver, along with T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, JSN, Michael Pittman, Mark Andrews, Irv Smith. Feel good about tight end. Feel good about the base at receiver. We'll see how we can finish it out. Running back, I need a 7th, I think. But I don't even know that 7th would be. I guess maybe a Chris Evans or a Chase Brown. Probably Chris Evans for me at this point. But we'll see what we get back. There we go. There we go. Johnny, I said you get fair game on this one. He is a pure backup. But we'll get to 7. We'll get to 7. And you have a few shares of Irv. Tweeted about him a couple times. Good. You should have a few shares of Irv. I think Irv is just one of those players where we talk about the second contract breakout guys. Irv just had such an unlucky run for Minnesota where he was hurt and then lost the job. It's like, okay, maybe staying healthy is a skill. I don't like to think of it that way, but maybe it is. But he's going into the Bengals this year, where last year Hayden Hurst was a perfectly usable part of a portfolio. Like, I could tell you he made more lineups at tight end for me, more than you would have ever thought possible. And actually losing him for the playoffs killed a few of my teams that were built around him contributing. So I think for Hayden Hurst, if he can do that, I think Irv Smith can do that as well. Younger, theoretically a little more athletic, all that stuff I think bodes well for Irv, but it's mostly just the fact that like a Durham Smythe, he's just going to be out there for every single snap. And I think that's probably the big value, just being out there for an electric offense on every snap. That's what I care about. All right, man. Shouts to the chat. Lots of chats coming through here. Not my Football Outsiders. Yeah, dude, it's been a bummer. One day I'll talk about, I've talked about it candidly enough here. I've tried to mince my words for the most part, but it's just been really shitty to navigate. And it sucks too, because I love Football Outsiders growing up. And then, they say, don't meet your heroes. I wouldn't say anybody's my heroes over there, but just they don't know business. They didn't get the site was losing money. So then the contractors were so radicalized and thought they were getting ripped off. And it's no, this has been a money losing site for probably 5 years, if not the entire time. So it just it sucks. It's one of those things where there's no winners and people always want to declare a winner. It's no, there's no winners. And it's poor me having to suffer along the way, trying to keep it going. And, and Aaron too, losing his baby, Aaron Schatz losing his baby sucks. But also if it sucks, you don't start promoting competing products while trying to negotiate a settlement that's going to pay you handsomely and holding out for more money. I'm just being real here. It's just been a series of incompetencies, I think, overall. And it sucks because it was the best traffic year, best sub year. I led it all to that stuff last year as part of the strategy that I bring to the table. But we move on. You just got to move on. So that's why I request you guys, please come watch the fantasy live stream I'm doing with Ian Harditz at 3 p.m. because I would like to go somewhere that's healthy and with people I like. But we'll see. Boom low ball. Yes. Boom low ball. That sums out the Football Outsiders experience. When Jacobs pulls a hammy in week 2, my 18th round Zamir bags will be mocking everybody. There you go. It's certainly possible. Guys, missing this much camp in the past has not been a great thing, especially, Josh Jacobs, I would say, is not a model of fitness. He's certainly been a bigger boy through most of his career. So, if we're given probabilities, is there a probability where Josh Jacobs being out makes him Eddie Lacy? 10%, maybe? If we're being real about it, I think it's probably 10%. Von Miller staying on the pup for all the boys who care about defense. Don't draft Von Miller in your IDP leagues, your IDP best ball. All right, I see a player that makes sense at receiver here. Boy, this receiver, somehow, my wide receiver 6 is going to end up complete dog shit. But Hunter Renfrow will be another bring back for Indianapolis. And I think I know a 7th guy we can take. Might go to 3 tight ends here as well. Don't need to, but I might do it. What's defense? That's the attitude. That's the splash play attitude. You should know about defenses in terms of the overall picture. I do look at carving defenses up, EPA per target numbers against deep throws. I'll cite all that stuff throughout the year. That's important. But knowing individual players, it's more about the offense or the defense rather as an entire organism. All right. Mark Andrews. He was thinking about Michael Mayer, but I don't think he does a whole lot for this team. Let's take a 7th running back here. Deion Jackson. No, I really don't like that. All right, well, we're going to do Deion Jackson anyway. I feel like just with today being the Jonathan Taylor day, I think it in particular makes sense to take Deion Jackson before we know the outcome. But I really just wanted a running back, and I just don't think Chris Evans was a guy that was going to be fast enough for me at this point. Final pick, though, I think should go. I'm just going to put some guys in the queue. Don't take them. 7 RBs. Look, if you draft poorly at running back and you draft late, like Johnny Footballs in hindsight correctly called me out for, you got to make it up in volume. So it's just about, I want guys that can give me 10 points, hopefully, and hopefully not give me zeros. The Zamir White and Deion Jackson, definitely closer to zeros. Deion over Hull. Deion's got a pass game role if Taylor comes back. Hull, I don't think, has a role if Taylor comes back. So that's why. That's also part of why Taylor's, like, his value is just not correct, or with how he values himself. If he thinks he deserves 14 to 15 mil, guy can't catch a pass, guy can't block on pass downs. So Deion Jackson's likely that guy no matter what the outcome is with Jonathan Taylor. So I think that's why I would put Jackson ahead of Hull. But if we're looking at like the potential for a bell cow role if Taylor doesn't come back, then Deion Jackson I would put behind Hull, if that makes sense. Myles Gaskin cut. It's due. It's due. Ahmed's been ahead of him for most of the preseason and the offseason. And Ahmed's actually looked pretty good. And Ahmed was actually not bad last year in a small sample size, but Myles Gaskin has just been hanging on that team. Like, he honestly would have been benefited. I'm sure he's happy that he got paid and whatever. He would have been benefited getting cut like 2 years ago, because then he could have stuck on somewhere else and maybe carved out a role. And now it's like he hasn't played in a couple years. And like, I don't know, his most recent film is going to be from a few years ago where he actually did anything noteworthy. So Myles Gaskin, he and Trey Lance, you guys, I would say, kind of victims of how this works, where you just don't get your window of time and you don't hit in the right window, and then you're probably screwed. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate you, bud. Like, I always say it on here, like, everybody's takes in August, same thing until the season starts, always going to be as valid as mine. And I know people disagree with some of the stuff that I do draft-wise, but I like the portfolio I built. It worked for me last year, and I think this year I'm hoping I'll get better results. So we'll see, obviously. And you guys will know firsthand. Like, I don't want to be here with my tail between my legs saying I didn't get a finalist across. Like, that bums me out. I think that my drafting style gives me unique lanes to hit. And sometimes you end up with Zamir White and Deion Jackson. And sometimes you end up with like a stacked running back room, even though you started late. So that's what it is. Laird he's NFL talent. He's like Rex Burkhead level NFL talent. I'm not biased towards Patrick Laird in any way, but it feels like he should have a role somewhere, I would think. Not explosive though. Like, it's tough to not be explosive because Burkhead at least runs with some power and authority. Laird just kind of a good hands guy. But I don't want to speak ill of Patrick Laird, of course. He's been such a good friend to our good friend Peter Overzet. But he got cut. He should be going into media. Like, he's one of those guys that I think should be going Underdog and do like a blocking show with Josh Norris. Go on Underdog and talk about running back film. Why not? Laird has super soft hands. Heard from Pete. I'm sure. He looks like a guy who'd moisturize. Hard to argue that. Any big name cuts besides Alberto? Is that the biggest name so far? I feel like Gaskin is like a fantasy name that people remember. But Alberto feels like the biggest name for what we would think matters. And it's just crazy that he had that big of a game. Like, he's got to sign somewhere. Where does Alberto go? You know where Alberto would look pretty good would be in Miami. Like, if he was playing the Durham Smythe role, then you feel like there's a real ceiling there. Would suck for my 18th round Durham Smythe, as we see Deggy here took him. I think Durham Smythe has been a nice, tight end 3 if you're building out Miami. But Alberto to Miami should just get everybody, right? Miami's now like the NBA super team where they should get Jonathan Taylor. They should get whatever tight ends are available. It might be good. But I think that does make sense. Shout out Jordan, by the way. I didn't pull up a super chat. I can't gift members. Like the video. Love you, Spags. Love you too, Jordan. Thanks for coming by, man. And I will hopefully see you on Sunday starting week 1. But Jordan is a great guy. All Stochastic guys, like, I think they are a channel that obviously if you're not familiar with it or you haven't spent as much time there, you can lump them in with the Run Peers and the Roto Grinders. But like, the people there and the results they get and the process and the work they put in, Definitely, guys like Jordan, especially behind the scenes, but all the talent too, like Josh Shit My Money, Laffy, Ben Rasa, like all those guys were just fantastic. Eric, of course, Greg, dudes that I love as we call friends and treat me like family. So hard to argue with that. All right, 2762. I think we need one more receiver here. You can see I'd be happy to take either of these two guys. I would honestly go to 8 running backs given how bad this is. But Josh Downs would be my preference if Soul Export allows it. Ship is the GOAT. Ship is like a surly, curmudgeon-y guy who normally I don't always get along with that, but because I like him so much, I find it charming. So I do love him. And again, real pro, real winner, all that stuff. So Josh Downs around the team, final team, 2772, Joe Burrow with Anthony Richardson, Zach Charbonnet, Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, Raheem Mostert, Roshan Johnson, Zamir White, Deion Jackson. This room can get there, but boy, this is what you got to be comfortable with if you're going to do a zero RB build. At receiver, Jamar Chase, C. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, JSN, Michael Pittman, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Downs, everything correlated, which I think makes sense. And the baseline is pretty good with the Cincinnati double and a tight end, Mark Andrews and Irv Smith. I think this team works. It's not my favorite team ever, but it does work. All right, guys, one more draft here. This will be draft number 140 for me. So let's queue it up. Of course, $25 to win $3 million. And then tomorrow we'll be drafting on Drafters. So get ready for that one. Use the promo code SPLASH on Drafters to double your deposit up to $100. And if you already have a Drafters account, you can also get the promo code SPLASH100 for a deposit match of 20% up to $500. So get ready because I'm going to be doing those, I think, 2 drafts tomorrow for Wednesday. Right after Pete's stream ends, I'll go live and we'll do Drafters. And of course, I did not draft AR yet, so I have to take off the jersey. The only show where you get to watch a man take off and put on clothes is part of a rhythmic process that the audience demands. That's what I bring. The pure Mr. Rogers energy here on Splash Play. 2 Draft Tuesday. Look, I love drafting teams, and I love when we have live viewers watching. So we're hitting all the notes that I need here. But of course, if you are new around here, Splash Play on the march to 3,000 subs. So also make sure to subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Helps us get seen by more people. That is the goal here. And, new names. Always fun to see in chat. I appreciate it. M. Cockiner is going to be in the one hole here. So perhaps a fan of Barry M. Cockiner. We'll find out. Find out if he's doing a bit draft. Ship needs to incorporate some more drunk streams in his profession. He should. He's taken, I think he's on a sabbatical right now. So, because he was crushing it so hard during MLB season that he could afford to take a few weeks off. So shout out to him. And I'm curious. He's one of those guys that I think, I don't want him to, he could do whatever he wants to do. He could probably make his own site if he wanted. Like, he probably could do that. And I think would have a fun audience with that and would have some fun shows as long as he has like a good lead host to play off of kind of thing. Not saying that's pitch myself, but like my favorite shows is Stokastic were always the Laffy and Adam shows, like doing the deeper dive and all that. Very much enjoy their content and, the bounce back, like very Mike and the Mad Dog-esque, those two. Shout out fucking Alpha, new member. Oh, I got to do the bit here. Of course, fucking Alpha, welcome to the family. This guy's an alpha male, the kind of guy with grapefruits. The grapefruits you haven't even seen. You think I know ball? That guy knows ball because he's got enormous balls. Welcome to the family, fucking Alpha. Appreciate you. There we go. That's what you get if you're a member here. How could you not want to be a member for $4.99 a month? And fucking Alpha, if you want me to check out any of your teams, give you some feedback on the home stretch, you know how to find me. Please do that. Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill. I've been low on Tyreek lately, not lining a lot with my draft spot, so I'm going to take him here. I know Christian McCaffrey, there's a world where he goes. He's the best running back in football, and we've been ignoring him. Tyreek Hill could also be the best receiver this year. I don't think he's better than Justin Jefferson, but that offense could certainly benefit him well enough to get him there. So I'll take Tyreek. We'll start it out there. Shout out guy Mark here, Tony Mark in chat, who joined me for part of that 8-hour DraftKings marathon where we had Tyler, my guy Steven Leibovitz, and Tony Mark on at the end. So shout out to the chat. And we will have more opportunities coming up in season to get people here on stream. That's going to be one of my goals to figure out whether it's with Pete or not. But the Splash Play community, again, we're marching on here. We're going to find some ways to have fun in the regular season as well. Squirt Squad. Yes, part of the Squirt Squad. Welcome to the Squirt Squad. Welcome to the family and the Squirt Squad. And then I see, where is that Tyler chat? Best Ball Brunch is at 2K views right now. Shout out to Best Ball Brunch. Again, if you want views in this space, just bang on camera and do a draft. It's all anybody ever needed. That guy, honestly, he needed to follow up with more videos now. I think you can't just do the one. You got to build your audience, right? Keep hitting it. Keep hitting it both literally and figuratively. All right, Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs. This is gonna be a running back piggy room. I think we might be able to have some fun here. These guys are scarfing them up. They can't help themselves. Icon gets the Amon-Ra CeeDee Lamb at the 11 hole. That's interesting. Let's see. Someday, Johnny. Someday it's possible. Chris has got to figure out his schedule in season 2. I know I'll be doing the showdown stuff Mondays and Thursdays. Besides that, I don't know. So it's all going to the quote-unquote highest bidder. Also, I should promote Probably App. We are launching before week 1, so probablyapp.com is the wait list. Oh, I don't like Fantasy Guru Drew. He was a dick to me when I won 50K in NBA for reasons unclear because I don't know who he is. So fuck Fantasy Guru Drew. But I'll never forget that. Never forget the slights you experience and hold them against people forever. That's from The Art of War. Jalen Waddle falls here. You used to be able to get this Miami double effortlessly, but I'll get it here. So start Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Can't argue that. Do I do college football DFS? No, I do not. I do not. If you're going to follow anybody, Matt Kajewski is that dude. He is the one who I think does it better than anybody else in the world. That I know of at least, but it's not a passion. I am going to follow college football more closely this year besides USC, just because I want to keep tabs on the players that I'm going to care about drafting. So Caleb Williams and Drake May, very much of interest to me for next year. But I was like, I don't want to pat myself in the back too much, but I was so good at identifying rookies this year and being able to hit the tide of guys and get ahead of the Dalton Kincaids and the AR. And if you followed Splash Play in January and February, you know this. So I'm sorry to have to, tout myself up. But I really want to combine that with an in-season approach this year. So I'll be following more closely, but I'm not going to be gambling anything on it. Spags is an enemy list. I don't have an enemy list. I just remember every time people have been shitty to me. I remember every person who's been good to me. That's why I'm happy to hang out with Ian Harditz. Ian Harditz once gave me a really nice compliment on Twitter, unsolicited, where he called me one of the best hosts in the business because we'd done some shows at Stochastic back in the day. And I thought that was that always stuck out to me. That's a nice thing that somebody says that they don't have to. So stuff like that, I remember. And then if you're just shitty for no reason, especially if I don't know you, then I remember that. So fuck Fantasy Guru Drew. I hope he's watching. Don't be a dick to people who don't know you just because you're have a fucking weird ego about your DFS play. I don't know. Mark Andrews too. Play the hits. So this build again, I think was borderline chalky in the beginning of BBM, and now it doesn't exist too often. I'm getting it here. Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Mark Andrews, the pure week 17 stuff, but also Mark Andrews again, I think can be the tight end 1. Tyreek, I think could be, in the hunt to be wide receiver 1. So I like this. Oh, this is funny. I have a list of drafters I've been sniped by in drafts. I don't retain that, I have to say. I just remember things that, personally affect me. But, if I kept an entire list of that, I would be going on for forever by now. But I think you should, always remember, when people do good things for you. And then if people are dicks for no reason, okay. If I see your name, I'm triggered. Yeah. Holy shit, what a start. Touting AR at early set. I mean, he still should have been worth that. The market didn't bear it out, but I think really the line for AR getting where I thought he would go was him breaking one of those RPOs for 90 yards. And that was just it. And again, honestly, we were not that far from it. So I don't think I would have that as an issue. And I touted AR from when he was in the 200s in the big board. So I think there's been no point where you could say I'm wrong about AR. But we'll see. The season's, again, just a few short weeks away. 9 days away, guys. And we'll know. We'll know the start of the takes. I think one of my favorite teams right now is from early in the summer being able to do a Jacksonville, Miami QB double stack their top receivers. Yeah, that would look pretty good. I mean, Miami doubles alone, I think, look good. But Jacksonville, too, Ridley came up enough. And then you could also, again, bully rooms and letting Trevor Lawrence fall. You could still do that, but it's hard to do both parts of that now. So one of those things that will be a lesson for me next year is don't thumb your nose at chalky stacks early on, because chalky stacks early on become hard to get later on. DJ Moore with Fields, that was around cheaper, or even if you took, it was at least more logical early on. Now you kind of have to work to get it. So I got it. Be a good bit to record a shit headless like Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison. Yeah, I don't know that I have enough for a full list. Because it wouldn't be all fantasy people. Like there are not a lot of fantasy people I think are like outwardly dicks. Like I've had nice interactions with most of the people that I know. It's just there's a few where I think especially with like the DFS like regulars, like if you do something, they're like, you know, they then get a little butthurt by it. But most of those guys are cool by me, at least that I'm aware of. I don't see every time people talk shit about me. If I get sniped, I'll definitely take away a stack from them. I don't give a damn. I don't know if that's a plus EV approach, but if it makes you feel better, sure. Because I sometimes snipe people and I don't even realize because I'm just trying to draft guys that make sense and that correlate for week 17. Or if I get completely boxed out of QB, it's like now I have to build something late. And sometimes that can step on somebody. But, you know, you got to, I get tilted on stream when I get sniped. But also, like, it's what does the person do with the snipe then? Do they then build around that QB? Or do they just take an unstacked Burrow and unstack Kenny Pickett and then that's their player? Like, if it's the latter, I think it's annoying. If it's the former, that is kind of the gentleman's game of it all. All right, so we have Miami, Baltimore. I think Drake London works well here. I am not going to go get Najee at this point. So Drake London, maybe we'll get some Chicago guys later on. That seems fine to me. There are enough names to do a rant. Bit names. Maybe. I got to be in a ranting mood. My rants are all improv because you got to get my goat just right. And I have to feel like, oh, this is going to be appropriate to do right now. Because if you just rant for no reason, then I'm like the angry guy here. And I don't want to be the angry guy. I smile through the pain. Remember the week where Lamar was getting traded and you could get him and Andrews at least a round later? That was great. Yep. These are the pockets, man. Just got to grab them while they're there. And I know it's tough to hear for some people because like some people, you have lives, you have jobs. You don't want to focus on football year round. I get it. But, you know, teams are drafting in August. Like they're just not going to have the same texture as teams you could have drafted in May, June, July, and August. And I would say, as I've said this entire time, and I'll say it for anybody who's going to hop back in next year and is maybe just starting their best ball journey right now, got to draft the entire offseason if you can. Just because it gives you opportunities you wouldn't have otherwise. There's a reason why we've seen winners from June and July the last few years. My finalist last year was in May. I think that stuff matters. Let's see. Sean Tucker going mostly undrafted this. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sean Tucker's a world beater. He's a volume guy. If you like Sean Tucker, you should like Chase Brown. I guess maybe an easier pathway for Sean Tucker to get to RB1. But like they're the same guys who were just pure volume in college, but maybe didn't show a lot beyond that. But I'm not a big Sean Tucker guy. I took him a little bit in the big board because everybody was taking him, but I just never really bought in on that one besides it being a pure volume play. All right, so we have Miami, Atlanta. We have Kenneth Walker here at ADP. It just does nothing for me. Not going to reach for Pickens. Oh, it's not a perfect pocket for me. Another Deontay share? Do I really do that? No, you know what? Let's just get our guy. I'm dunking home this build. Like, I like Drake London, but Pickens is my guy who I would rather have than Deontay Johnson. I'd rather have him than Christian Kirk. I'd rather have him than injured Jerry Jeudy. So Lockett, maybe you could make the case, but I think Lockett's ADP has come up just enough with the JSN potential of an injury that I now don't necessarily want to go that way. Let's see. Justin Herbert goes a bit of a discount. Good for that asshole fantasy guru Drew. I got my guy because you know what? Guys who know ball, they go out there and get their guy. George Pickens, more than a go route guy. Even Pete's on board now. After being so vehemently against George Pickens. Don't listen to what he said on the stream earlier. No. He was team anti George Pickens, team pro Deontay Johnson. People don't forget, Pete. They don't forget. June and July winners because fewer slappies. That's also true. Just gentlemanly drafting. Shout out guy Mathology heading out to lunch. Squirt Squad. Appreciate all the regulars here. Mathology, of course. King of the bonk bros out there. Our guy Tyler wants to earn that crown, but hard to ever argue with Mathology's track record of success as being a horn dog. Ooh, taking us to the shower. There we go. Dirty boys got to get clean. Again, it's another thing you only hear on Splash Play. I don't think there's any draft streams out there going dirty. Maybe Lisa Ann doing a stream. Though I think she probably goes like super serious with everything because it's like, no. You're not watching my fantasy football streams because I did porn you enjoyed. No, siree. You're following for my gangbusters takes. Lisa Ann's nice. I don't have an issue with Lisa Ann. She's not on the enemy list. Do you separate PPR guys from your DK and underdog drafts if that makes sense? There's some that I think have more value. Like I think Jahmyr Gibbs at ADP makes more sense on DraftKings. If I get him as a faller, I'm scooping up Gibbs more than I probably would on underdog. But yeah, it should matter. I think the PPR stuff is mostly a bailout for shitty rosters where like the previous example would be like a JD McKissick, where JD McKissick is going to give you 5 catches for 50 yards or so. That carries you a lot further on DraftKings than it does on underdog. But I think it's more just, like PPR guys, volume guys kind of go hand in hand. So a little bit more fragile overall. But I think, yeah, that kind of stuff does matter more on DraftKings, I think. Andy Isabella gets cut. All right. He had some positive steam going his way in the Buffalo camp, but probably means that Trent Sherfield makes the team, would be my guess. And Khalil Shakir wasn't a cut risk, but might not be active on game days, was the report that I saw recently. So I think that probably does bode well for Sherfield and also Hardy, I guess, as well. I know people like Hardy. What are we going to do with this pick? Christian Kirk fallen heavily here. That's a pretty nice discount. But look, again, who are we going to start a running back run with? J.K. Dobbins when we have Miami. I love this build. This build is so much harder to get now. But Dobbins with Hill, Waddle, and Andrews, and of course we do have London and Pickens at receiver. This is the Week 17 uncut stuff for Miami, Baltimore. Like this is the one where you want. The only way it could have been better is if I somehow tacked on Lamar to this, but I don't think that would have been possible. You would have had to fall into Drake London's pick. But I think this build, to me, really like this build a lot. So I'm happy to be getting this one. Also, I didn't update the banner. Dag nabbit. I've been inaccurate. This has not been draft 139. It's been draft 140. Monumental one in a portfolio. Are we going to get Splash, Spags, and Stochastic show, or will you be following corporate regulations? We'll be back on the Sunday shows. A deeper dive there of the one that's the second to last before Live Before Lock is what I'm scheduled to be on right now. And I offer to do some strategy shows, but I don't know if they're going to use that because they have enough staff that needs to fill hours. But we'll see. I'm open to do whatever, but I don't know. I feel like they're transitioning some stuff there, so I think hasn't been the clearest communication about what's going on besides the deeper dive. Shorter and Hardy. Yeah, Shorter, I guess, could make it. Shorter feels like a practice squad guy, I think. Because I can't imagine he would get taken. But Justin Shorter, driven to success by Anthony Richardson. Let's not forget that. Pretty good start. Lovely start. Thank you. I agree. I like this build a lot. Do have to get Tua, but not going to go crazy reaching for him. All right, Flowers, I would have considered taking there. I think that would have been pretty nice. Do you need a 5th receiver? We were getting a little bit bled out at the position. Man, not even JSN didn't even fall in this room. That would have also been pretty nice. Man, I do not love this pocket. James Cook, I have enough of for cheap that I am going to take him here. So we'll go J.K. Dobbins, James Cook, 2 Week 13 buys. But a running back, Dobbins and Cook. At receiver, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Drake London, George Pickens. And a tight end, Mark Andrews. That is the team so far. Love these 2 Week 17 stacks where it's fine with or without one of the QBs. I agree that's a nice build. Because then you could also have the game stack, but then also tack on a third stack with your QB potentially. But we'll see what I get at my second QB because obviously this is a team. Think I have to take him on the way back. But let's hope he doesn't get sniped. Nope. Jay Hillsberg simply had to take Tua because he has no Miami Dolphins, much like he had to take Trevor Lawrence with no Jags. The upside and the downside of August drafting here in real time. So we won't get Tua. You know what? Well, let's see what we get back. But fucking A, man. I'm not going to throw the hat, but that is not Tua going to a good home. He's not going to stack up Tua with anything. Maybe one of the running backs if we're lucky. Just tough. This is what I hate about these drafts. I still wouldn't take the backup QB. It's just too thin. I'll try to do like what we were talking about. I'll try to tack another stack on here. I still have 2. Like I'm still live for a Pittsburgh stack, still live for an Atlanta stack. But that sucks. That sucks. Beautiful Baltimore-Miami correlation without the QB. Yeah, again, June and July winners because no slappies. It is true. Just being able to draft cleanly with teams that mostly stay out of each other's way. That looks pretty good. AR goes at 91, so we can't build out that way. Ooh, these guys really get my goat? All right, we'll get Khalil Herbert here for an Atlanta bring back. So good running back room, good start of a receiver room. Gonna have to tack on. I think this will be a benefit to the team because we're gonna be more unique inherently because of how I'm gonna have to do this. But I don't love it. I just don't love it. Could have been real clean. Yeah, Dimes team, maybe. And the thing is, like, Pickett, too. I have so much Pickett at cheap that I don't mind taking him, like, where he's going now. But I'm going to have to figure this one out. A lot of week 13 buys. I will admit that. Week 13 is going to be a tough one for this running back room. But what are we going to do, man? What are we going to do? I see a receiver I would take for this build, despite the snipery. See a tight end I would take. Or I could just take Daniel Jones and try to build that out late. Hate it. Hate it. I'm going to read the chats in a minute here, but I'm locked in right now. I'm locked in. I'm in the zone. What are we going to do? Come on, El Guaps. El Guaps 606. Are you as handsome as you indicate? All right, let's take Bateman as our 5th receiver. So we still have Baltimore, Miami. I don't give a shit. So we got a running back, J.K. Dobbins, James Cook, Khalil Herbert at receiver, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Drake London, George Pickens, Rashad Bateman, at tight end, Mark Andrews. So we have the Baltimore double with no Lamar. We have the Miami double with no Tua. And we have J.K. Dobbins as well. So I guess the Baltimore triple. Let me read Jason's chat here. True story. First awesome show I ever watched. Spags is the only reason I clicked on it. Again, made it feel professionally hosted, but with humor. Tell Alex you need a fucking raise. Yeah, I'm on a per show deal on Stochastic, so I'm not in a great leverage spot. But honestly, just happy to do shows. I enjoy doing shows with people I like and shows that people watch. Those are the two things that bring me joy. And if you want to support the Spags journey, Splash plays the way, and probablyapp.com, which I know Jason's already on. Probably app, go get on the wait list because we are going to push our best possible version by next week. So it doesn't matter what's out, what's good about it or not. The data works. That's the main thing. And it'll be ready to go and on our domain before week 1. So get on the wait list. All right. Pete just informed me the audio for episodes has been uploaded. So the podcast version of Splash Play will be coming up in a little bit as well. All right. Just pushed my first QB in the summer. These days I reach a half a round. Interesting. I still try to push if you can, but obviously locking up a stack. That's one thing that Pete and I have differed on, where I think he said that's our primary difference on our approach is that I do like to lock up the stack if you get it. It's also just that when you build out a stack, inherently that stack is more valuable to you. That QB is more valuable to you than anybody else in the room. The tough part, though, is like I'm not going to take 2 at pick 76. If a guy's going to take him at 81, then you just get fucked, and it just is what it is. And you try to build around that and use it as a way to be more unique. But I hate that I'm not getting the pure Baltimore Miami. It is what it is. Tariq Cohen's ready for tryouts. Yeah, that's going to go well. Guys, after missing a full year, chunks of 2 years, coming back in older, always bodes well. But maybe he has like a Ty Montgomery renaissance. I guess that's possible. Was a good pure pass catcher for sure. Probably going to kick ass. I hope so. I hope it kicks ass and hopefully doesn't lick ass, unless it's in a positive, consensual way. Then it can also lick ass. Nice run of running backs coming up here. See what that douchebag Drew does. It's funny to be able to hate somebody for reasons in a draft room that aren't related to sniping or anything affecting my team. I enjoy that. Jalen Warren goes. Would have considered him. See, come on, Cam Strong. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Come on. This guy's really thinking it out. You could also notice Marvin Mims here going at 115. So that ADP rise is fully there pretty much. Give it another week. If we don't get any Judy news, he probably gets to the low 100s, if not the 90s. So I'm going to build out the Daniel Jones stack now. I think this price is appropriate. Got him as a bit of a discount. So we have Daniel Jones, our first QB, J.K. Dobbins, James Cook, Khalil Herbert at running back, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Drake London, George Pickens, and Rashad Bateman at receiver. and a tight end, Mark Andrews. So we're going to salvage this one. We're going to dig it out of the crash. But man, oh man. When Tyler is in chat, I don't think we need to talk about ass licking. I mean, you know, there's somebody out there that is always ready to talk about it, I'm sure. Oh, good. Tyler's back. He was just showering, drying off now, hanging dong. Good stuff. Daniel Jones. Who's your guys' favorite Daniel Jones stack partners? Like Waller, I think, is obviously priority number one. We're not going to get him. Jalen Hyatt gaining an appeal. I think with where we're drafting now, for me, it'd probably be Hyatt and Slayton would be the duo I'd like with him the most, to just have the pure upside guys. Sterling Shepard's going to make the team. He's probably an 18th round guy. You could take maybe 20th round on DraftKings. Wandale being back probably makes sense. Robinson. Okay, so you guys are all interesting. Yeah, Hyatt probably gets hurt by Wandale being back because they've still been just running Hyatt out of the slot mostly. And that was where he ran in Tennessee, even though he was such a deep ball guy. He was running out of the slot every time. Bellinger on DK. Yeah, Bellinger's probably got a bigger role than I would have accounted for as well. Slayton, Hyatt, Breida. Interesting. All right. Yeah. I think this is a time. You know what? Let's get A-Chain. Let's just keep building out. I don't care if you're going to snipe me on QB. I'm building out my goddamn game stack. Baltimore, Miami, come on down. So A-Chain will be our fourth running back in, along with J.K. Dobbins, James Cook, and Khalil Herbert. And then we're going to have to get another QB at some point, but not happen in this round. Just a nice little discount on Pirine, right? Yeah, Pirine goes at 127. Good for this guy. 10-pick ADP drop on Pirine. Yeah, I took A-Chain ahead of ADP, but I think he's more valuable for me, especially in this build too. Like we have early season production with Dobbins, Cook, and Herbert, so we can take the luxury A-Chain here and hope that he breaks out by the end of the year. Ah, there we go. Great minds think alike. Andrew just picked A-Chain at the same time. If there's anything I can provide solace in, it is drafting Devin A-Chain. Crowder got waived. There we go. Yeah, not Campbell. They were not going to waive Paris Campbell. But I think it's they're going to waive Cole Beasley too, right? I believe was the last report I saw. I don't know if they did, but that was what they were the beat guys saying yesterday, was that Cole Beasley was not going to make the team. Especially if Wandale's going to be off the pup. Like I think you probably can't carry Cole Beasley. Only thing we've seen that could stop Spags now is a New Year's weather emergency in Baltimore. God, I hope not. Again, last year, as somebody that was burned by the Cincinnati Buffalo game not materializing, I really would like every game to play to its full capabilities. If not having the upside that we would think it would have, at least want the games to play, because that was so tilting. If Joe Burrow had played that game for me, I would have jumped at least 50 spots, if not 100 and change. Let alone what Singletary could have contributed, what T. Higgins could have contributed. That game was very upsetting to lose last year. We can agree with that. And I'm at 20 best ball drafts. No, wait, what? No. Are you talking to me or are you talking to Tyler? Because I don't know anybody. If you're in this chat, it's very unlikely you're at 20 best ball drafts, no matter what the tournament is. Now, for me, I think I am at. Actually, let's do some quick math. I am at a lot of drafts. Let me make my pick and then we'll do the math. But I'm pretty sure I'm at 500 drafts or so. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think for me it'd be impossible because I have more than 20 stream drafts. I have... Ooh, I could do the math on my phone. This guy's taking forever to pick Jonathan Mingo. Jesus. I did less drafts, though, in the smaller tournaments than I did last year. Because I definitely wanted to focus in. Fucking A. This guy took Pickett, but he has Freiermuth and Deontay. So Cam Strong can have Pickett, I suppose. I mean, if we're going to build out Giants, Rams, let's take Higbee here. Let's just do that. So Higbee will be my tight end 2. And I'm going to have to take Ritter, I guess, which is fine. Not dying for it. So my total outlay of teams is going to be, and this is including the big board stuff. God, I have to reply to so many texts. 59 plus 1 plus 45 plus 2 plus 293 plus 2. 402 on Underdog and 525 right now, including DraftKings. So, including drafters, I should safely get to 600 drafts by the time this ends, which is a lot of time. It's a lot of time wasted, especially as a fast draft guy. Because I don't do slow drafts if I can avoid them. Woof. Any chance Love Reed? That'd be interesting. Yeah, I would like to build off of the guys I have if possible, but I guess Love, honestly, be a better QB2, and then I can have Ritter as a luxury QB3, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to be sorry to whoever the Christian Watson drafter is, but I think I am going to snipe Jordan Love from him. Derek Carr would also be kind of interesting, but nothing built out there either. Russ just fallen, huh? Russ fallen, but I have nobody to correlate with him. Yeah, you know what? I'll follow here. Let's follow GA's lead here. Let's do Jordan Love. I definitely don't have a lot of builds of Love without Christian Watson. I don't know that I believe in the Love bet as much without Christian Watson, but for my portfolio, I do think it makes sense to get Jordan Love here. So we will add him to this room. QBs so far, we have Daniel Jones and Jordan Love. Still have room for Desmond Ritter late if we want to go that way. J.K. Dobbins, James Cook, Khalil Herbert, Devin Achane. Receiver, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Drake London, George Pickens, and Rashad Bateman. And then a tight end, Mark Andrews and Tyler Higbee. So this is an interesting team. The Baltimore-Miami stuff is going to carry me the most. Definitely had to get off the beaten path more because of getting sniped on Tua. But that might be to this team's benefit because now we're doubly unique. We got a stack that doesn't exist very often that much anymore. And then we also are building these other stacks on top of it. So I think this makes sense. Not going to get a bring back for Minnesota and Jordan Love, I don't think, but that's fine. Would you have regretted reaching for Tua and losing out on Cook? I feel like that's the biggest mistake I see. People pushing QBs, trying to get max value when you could have just locked it up. No, because I don't want to be paired with people. Like you can usually get Tua, especially if you have the Miami double, you can get Tua in the 100s. So we're not just talking about wasting one pick potentially. We're talking about wasting 2 picks of value there. So I would still try to push Tua and let it push me to a different texture. Again, if a guy's going to take Tua unstacked with no logical reason to do it, I think you just got to let him do it and just let it make your team more unique as a result. But no, I still don't think I would have reached for Tua there. I would have liked to have gotten AR instead. Like, I think if you're, the bet with Jones is kind of the same thing. If you're going to get sniped on your QB, I do think you want to then make the bet with another QB who could then beat the guy you got sniped on. So Daniel Jones, AR, those two guys can beat Tua through rushing and honestly don't even need the correlations to beat Tua overall. So I think the game theory for taking Daniel Jones and AR makes sense. But yeah, completing the stack always going to be the optimal thing to do. But reaching for it, like 2 at 93 would have been, I think, at where his ADP is, right? 2 is a 93 flat ADP. So I can't justify taking him 17 picks of ADP. Let Russ go undrafted. That happened in a room recently, right? I saw somebody talking about that. Jaden Reed goes to this guy. All right, well, what are we going to do? So no naked Jordan Love. These guys, man, just killing me here. And then Cam Strong soaks up the clock with his pick. I'm going to take KJ Osborne for at least a semi-correlation here with Jordan Love for week 17. So not a game stack. I don't have a lot of KJ Osborne, certainly more. I would take Justin Jefferson over KJ Osborne every single time, guys. But I would also Addison, Hawkinson, those guys I like more. KJ Osborne, though, if we do recall last year, big spike weeks down the playoff stretch. Certainly a player that I think fine as a Minnesota Green Bay bring back, but not dying for KJ Osborne. Yeah, there we go. You got it. Hey, shout out Tyler, down 24 pounds since March. 6-pack Vegas, Mexico's live. Tyler, I got to ask the question. Is this all natural or are we taking some performance enhancers? Because I have noticed Tyler's body transformation because he was posting some selfies on social media and it was like, okay, Tyler's either working really hard or maybe hitting that special Ozempics, maybe some man supplements. No shame here. I'm curious. I do have a friend, one of Alex's friends rather, who's a mom who like posted this very long like Instagram post because she's been taking Ozempic or one of the bootleg ones. And if you're not familiar with Ozempic, it's like the weight loss thing where it basically kills your hunger and makes you eat like a normal person would basically. And she posted this whole thing about like, oh, I was diagnosed with this, and this, blah, blah, blah. And it just buries at the end like, oh, and then I got this fat burning shot and that's why I look like this now. It's like, you can just own it. Like you can just say like, hey, I'm taking this special miracle drug that everybody's taken. And it's why Jonah Hill is like suddenly looking like a Pez dispenser. No shame in that. But I would take that stuff in a heartbeat. It's expensive though. I think it's like $1,000 a month. All right, let's go El Guaps. I feel like Hamstrong and El Guap on both sides just take the entire fucking clock. Just milking the entire thing as I'm waiting, frothing at the bit. 2-4-6-2 would like a fifth running back. But these guys all are pretty trash. No other correlations are leaping out here. Ugh. What a disgusting pocket of players. We have such a good baseline. I am going to take, you know what? Fuck it. Deuce Vaughn, right? Everybody loves Deuce Vaughn. I hate him. I think he's trash, but in this build, he's a luxury pick anyway, and I just want a fifth running back. So Deuce Vaughn, we're going to get those 5 routes per game, catch and a half per game he's going to get, and one touch before he gets literally turned into gravity. He gets turned into space dust when he gets hit. We'll take Deuce Vaughn. This one is for Chunk. This one is for Mr. Shadow Dog. A Deuce Vaughn share for Spags in Best Ball Mania 4. It honestly can't be more than number 1 or 2 for me. Hold on. Let's see. Exposures, BBM. This is my first share of Deuce Vaughn. I knew I had a couple on DraftKings. Deuce Vaughn in the 15th. How could you argue? I know Ball. Yeah, a little guy, right? Yeah, the size doesn't matter. It's the size of the fight and the dog. That's what matters if you're a guy that knows Ball. Thank you. Mr. Shadow Dog is lurking. A+ lineup. Dropped a little deuce. I did indeed. It's a lot. What is a lost cause, Christopher? What? Christopher, you're getting to the point where you have to give me money again to make me like you. I don't think this team's a lost cause. It's just not stacked beautifully. Like, we have tremendous talent everywhere, but I couldn't take a receiver at this point because A, Jalen Hyatt went. B, I have to save a few receiver spots for my Giants Rams correlation. Honestly, might take Dontavian Wicks to round out my Green Bay stack. Vaughn over Hodgins, that was not an option. I got Vaughn after Hodgins. But theoretically, I would take Hodgins over Vaughn if he had lined up there. Not a big Hodgins guy, though. I think he's got the most fragile role out of those starters. I would put Slayton ahead of him. I would put Wandale ahead of him. I'd put Hyatt ahead of him. I think Hodgins is my Giants wide receiver 4 would be the way I'd do that. 3 TDs for Deuce Vaughn week 17 now. I guess this team makes the finals, and I would be rooting for Deuce Vaughn, but otherwise, not at all. Ritter goes to Hillsborough. So Ritter's just sniping my team, I think. Always fun when these guys come into a room to try to do stuff like that. Maybe not. I guess he had Algier. But this feels like a draft of him trying to fucking needle me. Maybe he's colluding with Fantasy Guru Drew just to needle me. Hodgins plays the slot a little bit, but is more outside. But he's not as outside as Slayton, who only plays outside. At least based on what they ran last year. Oh, boy. A flock impression for Ducey. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you could draft Deuce Vaughn every single time, you've got to do it. He had over 20 touches a game in college at Kansas State. And as we all know, size doesn't matter, as I tell my wife. Oh, sorry. He didn't deserve a dick joke. All right, let's get some fucking assholes. Darius Slayton. Yay, stacking Giants. Yay, we did it. Ah, there we go. Chris, shout out to Christopher for the $20 super chat. You're back in my good graces. One of our favorite regulars here, Christopher. Oh, I don't want to be that mean to him. Like, I do feel like accusing guys of like their dicks being small or anything like homophobic. Those are the default ones that the guys throw out. So I don't want to subject him to that. But it was hard not to make the joke when you're doing a bit of him liking Deuce Vaughn. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to have that Deuce Vaughn Trey Lance stack. That's the one that'll win me the Bulldog. For Slayton over Hodgins or just by draft price, I prefer them overall. I prefer Slayton to Hodgins, but draft price certainly makes it even sweeter. Yeah, Slayton was good last year. Hodgins, let me look at Hodgins and then numbers that I look at. Hodgins 0.15 EPA per target, 14% receiving DVOA. Can't argue it. Slayton 0.37 EPA per target, 13% receiving DVOA. So he's in that Justin Jefferson range. Again, nobody's Justin Jefferson. He gets the volume and he's that good with the volume, that good at beating expectation every time out. But if guys are going to be 0.3 or above EPA per target, I like those guys a little bit more. So Slayton is definitely one of those guys. So, but Hodgins is fine. Hodgins is like an okay guy. Anybody who's not just like average in these stats, like I tend to be like, yeah, they're fine. But Hodgins, I just worry like he's just a pure journeyman. Like they have no investment in him really. And then they have so many guys that I think they do have an investment in with Wandale, with also obviously Hyatt now being there, with Shepard, who's like a vet who they want to keep giving reps to. So I worry about that a little bit. And Slayton is best pals with Daniel Jones. So that works, right? I am a size queen. Source of these stats is Sports Info Solutions, best data package out there, especially if Football Outsiders is not going to be back. It's what I'm going to use for everything. I actually tried to cancel PFF. PFF doesn't let you cancel, by the way, on the site, which nobody gives them shit for it. But you have to like submit a button to cancel PFF. But I'm planning on only using Sports Info Solutions numbers these year because they are a fantastic site with all the EPA ways to chop it up that I like. So that is what I'm going to go for. Do not think that Paris Campbell makes sense for me here. I'm gonna get another Rams bring back. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I'm the badass of best ball. I draft Puka Nacua in the 17th round. But yeah, but really though, Andrew, like if you're gonna invest in anything this year, I think SIS is like fucking fantastic. Like you get a free version of their data as well through 33rd Team. Not quite as informative because you can't do the filtering and stuff. But like for Sports Info Solutions, you could sort by how defenses do against targets 20 yards downfield, how they do against jet sweeps. Like if you really want to get that granular, I don't get that level of granular because I don't like you're kind of chopping up things that are already a small sample into too small of a sample. But I can tell you, like I knew to target the Titans downfield last year because of SIS. I knew not to ever target the Jets downfield because they shut down every single deep ball that was thrown their way. So I think there are micro edges to exploit by having the fanciest data, and SIS is one that I know the Underdog guys use. I know, again, 33rd Team has a big partnership with, so would swear by them for sure. But no, I don't have a promo code or anything, unfortunately, but I would just give them my personal vouch. And then the free tools, while we're giving the free plugs, Fantasy Life Best Ball Hub, great tool to check out your exposures and all that. The Bobby Stats tool, as we talked about, for combinatorial ownership, fun to look through. I know a lot of people have been asking me for those links. I don't know. I don't have it on me right now, but check it out. Team stack, but no Spags stacks wraps up on Friday. So I think we're going to compete with Pete, unfortunately, during his stream. I was talking about his timings, but I think we're just going to end up going at the same time. But we'll do my final 3 Spag stacks. I might move it around, but subscribe to the notification bell so you know whenever I'm going live here. But yeah, we've got 3 more to do in Spag stacks. Maybe I'll push it to Saturday morning, honestly. Though I have to do probably. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it's happening at some point this week, for sure. But yeah, that was another journey. That's another one I've streamed. 31 BBMs. I think I did 1 puppy for my Chiefs team that I did in Spag stacks before I realized I should just do BBMs. So I've put up 31 drafts of all these various teams according to the wheel. So fun playlist to check out, I think. And especially last month has gotten very hard to complete the stacks. But June and July rather, really was picking up some clean stacks on that one. Unfortunately, Andrew, that's why you got to look at it. Like I sometimes hate it. Like I'm averse to bankroll trackers. I just kind of track through my usage and money going in and kind of going out kind of stuff. But if you're going to take this stuff seriously and try to get good at it, knowing your tendencies and how to beat them and how to balance them out and what you're doing that you like, that there's no logical reason to be doing. Like if you're always taking George Pickens with, I don't know, with Saquon Barkley. So it's not me I'm talking about. Somebody else theoretically. Like if you're always taking those guys together and there's no reason why you'd be doing it, but it just happens to align in ADP, you want to know that. So I would certainly encourage looking at it as part of the process for sure. I don't think he'll ever get, I mean, he might get another job, but I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't know how the media industry is working this way where it doesn't feel like Sal Vetri, I would have thought would have moved up a couple years ago just because of like having the following on YouTube and all that. And I think he does a good job. I know he gets kind of people cracking him for the social media threads and all that stuff and some of the clickbaity things. But I don't know if there's the same pathway to TV as there used to be for social media guys. And honestly, you make more money for a lot of these guys. Like I'm sure Flock, I know he's crushing it through the Underdog stuff. But he's probably crushing it so hard that he doesn't want to do media. For me, like, like I was pretty close to working at ESPN when I took the Football Outsiders job. Great call, Spags. Passed up an offer from NBC to take the Football Outsiders job. Again, great call, Spags. It depends on what your goals are. Like your goal should be to build something for yourself. And then if anything, media comes along, great. For guys like me, though, like there's something about the cosign of like, oh, you deserve this role being a part of this big company. And that would be nice, but you shouldn't want it. You shouldn't aspire to that. Better off building your own thing and owning it. If you're willing to grind, at least. Or we have a 2582. Is this a spot for a cheeky Matt Breida or a cheeky Eric Gray? Eric Gray, they want to be on the team. Breida's got a more secure role. What did Breida do last year? Breida was negative VPA per everything. You know what? We have such a good base here, such a luxury at running back. We're going to tack on Eric Gray here, who the team seems to really want to make the active roster, trying to give him kickoff returns just so he makes the roster. I do think if Saquon were to somehow completely hit the shitter, I do think that Eric Gray ends up the one who wins out. But yeah, Breida over Gray. Breida's the vet. Gray's the young guy. I'll always err on the side of the young guy for the most part. Final team here. Daniel Jones and Jordan Love at QB. J.K. Dobbins, James Cook, Khalil Herbert, Devin Achane, Deuce Vaughn, and Eric Gray. What luminaries at running back at the back end? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Drake London, George Pickens, Rashad Bateman, KJ Osborne, Darius Slayton, Puka Nacua, and then a tight end, Mark Andrews and Tyler Higbee. Naked love, yes. What other kind of love is there? But yes, I have so much love correlated with Watson. I have enough Watson correlated with Dobbs, so much love correlated with Musgrave that I suppose I was due a luxury here of Jordan Love. And who needs ESPN? That's right, Christopher. Who needs ESPN when you have these $20 super chats? Who needs it? All right, guys, that's it for me today. Again, if you are new around here or you're just not subscribed, about 48% of people that watch Splash Play are not subscribed. So please do that down below. I'm trying to hit 3K subs on here. The grind is going to continue on for me. I'm just going to keep doing what we do here, trying to give you guys the best takes from a guy who knows ball. But also, it just goes on during the season as well. I don't stop. I keep doing football. When the season ends, we go into 2024. That's just the fun here on Splash Play. So please subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Helps us get seen by more people. Helps me build this to give us a shot to make these juvenile dick jokes to a larger audience. But please do all that stuff. Of course, come back tomorrow. I'll be drafting on Drafters. So again, use that promo code. If you're new there, you can draft alongside me. Going to hit 2 drafts tomorrow after Pete's streams and his doubleheader with Corain and Siegel. So come join me here on Drafters. Of course, 17 weeks there. Total points, no playoff week. So it is a fun, different format to hit full point PPR. And of course, use that promo code SPLASH on Underdog as well to double your deposit up to $100. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this show at Splash Play Pod. And thank you to everybody who hung out here. It is always a blast for me to do this. I have fun. I hope you guys can feel that. I hope you had fun as well and maybe learn something. But if not, fun is good. See you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Drafts and teams. See you guys soon. Bye.